Good evening. This is the Carver Finance Committee meeting for July 10th. Time is 6:40. We're running a little bit late tonight. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Area 58. We have a packed house tonight.
As usual.
Yeah. I'll make a quick note at the beginning of this that you can see we're down to 5 members on the board. There are 6 openings. Anyone that wants to become involved in the finance goings-on with the town of Carver, please, we invite you to join. We invite you to join the committee. So that being said,
And just to add to that, it's on the website, information, how you can sign up for it and get appointed.
Town Administrator and Finance Director update. This is going to be the year-end interdepartmental transfer requests and transfer requests from the reserve account. So we can just take them however you want to present them.
Okay, so you have a sheet, estimated needs and estimated possible sources of interdepartmental transfers.
Yes. Excuse me, Sue, do you have an extra one of these?
I got a whole bunch here.
You got one more? I just want to give it a
Make
credit.
sure they,
He's good. I
everybody else has, okay.
I'm sorry, Bob.
That's all right. So, Mr. Chair, do you want to go line by line, go
However you want to
down?
present it
Okay,
is
so
fine with us.
why don't I just give an idea of what, for the people out there too. Utilities, the estimated need is $35,000. That's due to increases in fuel and propane charges for the past year. Legal, that's $90,000. A lot of litigation, a lot of issues that the town has been dealing with, and that elevated to that level. Planning salaries, new planner with more hours and hired after the annual town meeting, that's $18,000. Capital outlay stipends, $600. That's for the new stipends.
I really thought we budgeted that.
It wasn't, we looked, it wasn't in the, it's in the appendix to get paid, but it wasn't in the budget overall.
Okay.
Somehow it got overlooked.
Police salaries, and as the police, animal control, and dispatch, the salary overage is $168, $170. That's an estimated number, but that's a number we can use going forward, and if it is less than that, which we assume it will be, then that just goes into free cash. County tax assessment, additional $420, and Medicare is $22,655.
Do me a favor and explain that Medicare, because people don't understand, since the town doesn't pay into Social Security, but they do pay into Medicare. So
Right, we pay into Medicare Part A and B. Town, the retiree pays their share, and we pay their post-employment benefits share. But that is just an overage due to overtime and increases in salaries that weren't anticipated.
this is also with the additional COLAs and so forth and so on.
Correct.
We're after the fact. Okay.
Oops, sorry. Okay, so in the possible sources of transfers, town hall additional hours, $52,000. Municipal insurance, $15,000. That's, we had safety award discounts that our staff has taken training and different safety awards and other things. The select board contractual, there was a $5,000 contractual in there from a prior administration that was not used. Accounting salaries, there's $25,000 available, budgeted to cover contractual costs that was not captured in the clerical budgets initially. The town IT, from a $130,000 original budget, there's $50,495 left to use. Old Colony assessment went down, fiscal year '23 reduction in enrollment, and it saved the town $38,350. and that's available to transfer. The townwide maintenance contracts, and the original budget was 160, we used about half of that, and there's 80,000 available there. And the interest on temporary loans, no new temporary loans in fiscal year '23, so there's $69,000 available there. So the top line is 334,845. The sources of transfer is 334,845, same number. And then you may want to go through the reserve fund transfers, Mr. Chair.
Well, that'll actually reduce the 334,845, because what's in the,
No.
No, this is separated out because they have to be identified to a specific.
yes,
line
but you've
item.
got legal up in the
No, that's
estimate
so.
of needs.
So that 80,000 legal personnel matter, that was a personnel issue, separate
Oh,
and
okay,
apart
all
from
right, I know
legal.
what you're saying.
So even though it was technically under.
So what's in this
legal.
125 is not in the top line of
Correct,
shortfall.
correct. So do you want me to go through that too?
Yeah, did you prepare transfer requests?
I just figured as long as you sign off on this, this was good enough for me.
That's not how we usually do it, though. Usually there's a transfer request for the shortfall.
We do.
Oh, just for the 125?
Well, just for these these 4 items will require 4 transfers,
Okay.
Okay,
which if the board will vote on that tonight, then I'll
We can-
sign off on them once
yeah.
you write them, because you've got to sign them off on them also. You do too. Bob.
yeah, yeah.
If
And
that's
then they
acceptable
go
to the
the
board.
Is our reserve fund 125 a year or 150 now?
We're at 175 for FY '24, but we're 125 for FY '23. We haven't touched it.
And then on the bottom, there's a request for the fire SCBA gear. That's a cost of $22,100, and that's self-funded through the fire salaries that have to be transferred from salaries to equipment. So that's $22,100.
Chief, would you like to speak on that, since you,
Go for like 3 minutes. so
That's
I'll
fine.
take up your time.
No, we're glad you came.
Just
Thank
wanted to
you.
show you the courtesy. So we did, a last minute, we were upgrading or ordering our new SCBA bottles that were procured by town meeting. And dealing with the vendors, we found out that the air packs that we actually wear, we've been updating them 1s and 2s over the last few years. There's a device on it that allows you to connect your air to a fellow firefighter's air when they're in a building, if they were to get in an emergency situation. And that adapter or that device is no longer compatible with these newer packs. So basically, we have about 36 packs, and 5 of these SCBA's we found will not connect together. That was news to me, and once I heard it, I felt it was a safety issue. The standard changed in 2021, and packs come with a different adapter now. Don't ask me why they would do that all of a sudden. But now that I know, I'm trying to find a remedy to fix it. And the quickest way to fix it was the vendor could update our air packs to a newer adapter. Fortunately, to update all the packs was the $22,000. The next step, once we found the problem, was to figure out a way to pay for it without having to take funds away from the town. I did end up with about $28,000 in excess funds out of our salaries account. That's due to just, shorter times on an incident, or maybe a few less serious incidents. So I had asked if we could transfer $22,100 to tell the vendor that we could move forward with that. So if you did vote on that, I would just need to work with the finance director to either do that as an encumbrance, or, because I have that ready to go, so.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's just a journal entry, a line transfer?
Correct.
So it really doesn't affect the overall budget of the town. Thank you very much for that, by the way. The chief reached out probably 3 or 4 weeks ago with this same scenario, and asked, what did I think? And I assured him, and I'm sure this committee will back me up, I assured him that regardless of how this got funded, it was going to get funded, whether it was out of the reserve account, whether it was out of turnbacks, or whether it was out of him being able to do this with the payroll
Transfer.
surplus that he had, putting it back into this. But in no event were we going to create a situation where the firefighters could not share what would be life-saving air if they needed it. So I was very confident, and then as he worked a little bit more with the numbers and got them narrowed down, I spoke with Sue and I spoke with Bob, and they were all on board with just the transfer out of the salaries account. So
Yeah.
I had no problem with
If
that.
I may, one of the other areas we looked at was ARPA, but that obviously would be a delay, and I don't think we want to even have an extra day delay
No,
on something
we
that
don't.
could be catastrophic.
We don't. And it's not like it's not a big deal. Even if there was no money in the fire department budget, I'd have no issue transferring this amount of money out of the reserve account. But this is, I see it as self-funded, so I think that, that's just due to the fiscal responsibility of the fire department, and the fact that the chief watches the budget very closely, so I'm very appreciative of that. We have, I don't believe, I'll take a motion for this while we have him sitting here. I'll take a motion on this transfer from salaries to expenses, just to codify the finance director's decision to do that, if that's what you'd like to have us do.
Okay, so moved.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to transfer the $22,100 from a surplus in salaries to the Carver Fire SCBA gear within the same budget. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? There you go.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you,
As
Chief.
always, appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're the shining star. Now you're the fading star.
Our only audience.
That was it. We don't have an audience anymore.
You couldn't keep them?
I can't hang on to them. So what's the pleasure of the board? Do you have any questions about let's take the top half first, estimated needs and possible sources, and then we'll get into the reserve accounts. Pat?
I have a question. Under legal, what was the legal budget originally?
It was
You have that?
120.
25?
125?
I think it was 120.
120.
125.
And without getting into descriptive details, how much of this overage is due to a lot of this frivolous stuff that goes on, particularly from one person that we know of, and maybe a handful, but just
There's several.
constant, meaningless, frivolous things that have to be dealt with, not at the cost of the person that brings them up, but the cost of the town. Is that a significant part of this?
I would say it is a significant part.
Yeah.
The thing with legal, you can't really predict what it's going to cost you for the year.
No,
Because it's reactive to what happens in the town, and, there's a lot of, there's litigation, there's complaints filed,
I
and
dealt
all
with
that
that many
stuff.
years in the school department,
Yep,
but I
yep.
also know that there's an awful lot of frivolous, meaningless stuff that goes on and that shouldn't be allowed to go on.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever somebody thinks they've got some kind of a right or a look at me type of thing, that, is there a way to shut this stuff down?
Well, not really. I mean, people have a right to sue, they have a right to complain, they have a right to file complaints, they have a right.
I mean, we all
and-
complain,
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
But-
You
but-
can't shut it down, you can only
It goes-
defend it for the
and-
town.
and To what point, though? To no point? And what are the outcomes of these things?
Unfortunately, I had this discussion with Bob, I've had this discussion with Greg Corbo. There's nothing in the state of Massachusetts that clarifies an individual that's over exuberant, let's put it that way, in
Yeah.
public records requests, in what we would consider a frivolous lawsuit. There's nothing that would clarify it as harassment, and there's no way to stop it. This is the reason why Cara Dayhill, the town clerk, gave up the public records request. And it's been since moved over to the police department, which I think has been a great help, because there were certain people that were berating employees in town hall, and they don't quite get away with that now in the police station.
So, and again, just to clarify, it's not given to the police department. It was given to an employee.
The records
Who
clerk.
we give additional hours to do
Right.
that process for the town hall.
But she happens to be sitting in an office
Right,
behind,
yep.
On camera, and it's a little bit more secure, a location where, you know, she doesn't put up with anywhere near
Yeah.
the intimidation factor that the town clerk did.
And Pat, to your question and concern too, we're not alone in this, the town of Carver.
Oh, I
You
know
know,
that.
it's everywhere.
I know-
It's
I know that,
happening.
but I think-
Unfortunately, you know, and a lot of it is picked up by social media, which just, you know, feeds the fire.
It
And
does,
then
it
others,
does, yeah.
you know, it causes additional costs to the town over and over again.
No, this entire committee is aware, and of course Bob is also. I made a request for the legal budget broken out by department. What departments have incurred, and I don't care names, I don't care, I don't want to hear people, I don't need redactions, I don't want to accuse anybody, I want to know how much did the select board spend, how much did the conservation commission spend, how much did the planning board spend, how much did every single department in the town of Carver, what did we spend last year on legal expenses? And that will show at least where the money's going. And then we can extrapolate from there as to the reasons why it's going there. And it will show, you know, what boards and committees are incurring the most. I suspect it's the most visible boards and committees. I know that there was a suit against earth removal. I know that there's been litigation against planning. I know that there was litigation against conservation, because they can. So, but this will show that. And I think it's important that we see it. And I believe we've got it set up this year that it will be subcategorized, so we'll see that as those expenses go. At least that was the last time we had a discussion. I believe we're doing it that way.
Well, question on any of these frivolous lawsuits,
Yeah, pull that
is,
closer.
is there any way the town can recoup some of these expenses that we spend?
You can ask for fees
Yeah,
and costs and stuff.
But they're not going to, generally, the courts will not impose fees on a litigant opposed to a town.
It was just a question.
I know, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, but-
Yeah,
It borders on abuse of a system, and yet when it's
You know-
legitimate, you can't differentiate, because obviously the person filing the suit feels that their case is legitimate, which is why nobody files a lawsuit saying, well, this is going to lose anyway, but I don't care. Although you never know. So I think that's where we have an issue, and this is why we raised the legal budget this year, because last year, if you recall, was, I think, $45,000 short. This year, we're $90,000 short. It's just a huge expense.
Is there any way that some of these people that are filing these things, is there some process for that to become public as to who it is and what their issue is?
Well, the moment you file it in
Yeah, I
court,
mean,
it
it's a
becomes
public document.
Well,
So
yeah,
somebody
but
can
that doesn't-
request.
But that doesn't show the residents here what really happens. They're not going to all go look at that. Is there some way that can be made locally public?
I would assume you could, I mean,
Yeah. Well, maybe we ought to think about
but,
that,
you know, yeah,
especially for some of these.
because then you'd have to have across the board.
For a lot of this,
So that,
for a lot of these nonsense things, but,
Yeah.
just, it would have to be across the board, yeah, everybody. Yeah.
Technically, I've been informed, the only thing that really, if we were to ask for actual invoicing, then the only thing that they would redact from that invoicing would be any litigation with an employee, any personnel matter.
Yeah.
That's private information.
We don't need to know that.
And I believe any
and
ongoing
any
litigation,
ongoing that. has-
current litigation,
yeah,
still in process.
Regarding negotiations and other
Right,
things, you
right.
know.
But the rest of the stuff, if it's been
Yeah, a
settled.
lot of it,
You know, as soon as the lawsuit's filed, I mean, that's a public record all by itself.
Mm-hmm.
And the results of that are also a public record, so there's no reason why we couldn't have it broken down into that.
And we're working on that.
That's what you told me.
So
Yeah, someone
that,
must review these, right?
I review
In-
them, yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking someone must review them, or we pay KP Law, why can't they put up the
Oh, you mean
cost?
somebody there?
Well, someone here
Yeah,
must
so
review
they
the
give
invoice
us,
before we
they,
pay.
yeah, and they give us a redacted version that is used for getting it paid, so that when we send it down to accounting and so forth. But when it's a category, that category may have 6 different things in it that go to different areas. You know what I mean? So,
So in other words, you could get one bill that
so you
covers
got-
3
yeah.
departments?
yeah,
we-
one bill is 5 pages long.
Okay.
That has, and they break it out to general legal.
Okay.
For instance, is the first category. But that might have things for ERC or planning or selectmen or opinions and other things. So-
And I think we need
so
to
you
get
gotta
a better
redact
handle
all
on
that
our legal
stuff, that-
expenses. I really do. I think we need to get this narrowed down more.
No, I agree, 100%.
I think this is, you know, and with, I don't know, I know that the select board just voted a $10 an hour raise for them or something like
Well, that
that.
was, yeah.
Am I under the impression, there is no flat rate that we pay to allow for the phone calls, the nuisance questions? Is all of that on the TikTok? Is all of that billed out at a tenth of an hour?
Yeah,
TCs?
yeah. It's
So-
a 1/6 of an hour, I believe.
So I guess my question
Every
is,
10 minutes.
has anybody ever looked at the concept of perhaps getting a flat rate for A, B, C, D, and E for the year, and then these other items would be, you know, litigation, court appearances, the marijuana agreements, dealing with North Carver. This could be on the clock. But as far as the normal routine, everyday stuff that the town does on a pretty regular basis, have that just be a flat rate. I know that a member town recently did a deal where I believe they're paying a flat, I think it's $6,500 or $7,000 a month. And that gets them the essence of having in-house counsel. In other words, they're on the payroll. So it covers everything that's outlined in the agreement. And then anything that's extra, which is any of their, you know, if they have 40B, or if they have a marijuana agreement, or if they have the stuff that's outside the norm, then that's billed out of the
There's
norm.
like 90% of it's outside the normal. That's the issue.
Yeah.
And they're not going to do a flat rate generally overall because you don't know, you know, and they're not going to get into
They
these
know our track record. They're
litigation.
not going to go flat rate.
I know.
How many, so if we
So,
approved another $10 an hour, how many hours per year do they do?
I'm not sure. I can check that and
So,
see how many hours
I
it
mean, we
comes
already
down
set the
to.
budget for next year, so
Set it
this
for
is going to be an overage.
175,000. Oh, still going to be short next
Yeah.
year.
But
The
if we-
175 is not going to cover it, but we knew we couldn't get 200,000 past town meeting.
I know, but if we approved
Hmm.
another $10 an hour, which budget are you going to pull it from?
Well, what do they,
Well,
Got
it's legal.
175 in the reserve account. We're going to be right back here at the
And,
same
yeah,
time
and-
next year
and
doing
we
the same
increased
thing
the
we're doing right
budget
now.
this year going forward. So hopefully that'll cover
they
it.
charge per hour?
235
235.
for fiscal year '24.
So
235 last year,
that was
or
about,
225.
so if it was 90 plus, what was the original,
90's the
120?
125.
overage. We're not seeing the full story
So
on this.
that's
No, we're
about,
not.
that's about 900 hours.
You could hire a full-time
Probably.
person, probably, right? If they work
Well,
2,080 hours a year.
you could, I guess, but are they
could have
experts in
in-house
all areas? And that's
Yeah,
the
you-
problem. You'd still have to go out and get
Right.
labor counsel.
No, there's
still have
no
to go-
doubt. They are,
all these different counsels.
they fit the bill fine because you got the environmental side with Amy, you got the general counsel side with Greg, you got Tim Zessen who does your employee stuff.
Oh, it changed out of there. but,
Oh, it's,
yeah.
okay, so you got, and then and the part that makes me even crazier is, you know, the school has their own counsel,
Yes,
which
yeah.
By
makes,
law, yeah.
you know, so that's where that's at, so.
Different firm, too.
It's a different firm, that's right. So,
Right.
okay. So anyway, I'm not happy about the 90,000 legal either. You know, we're going to try to, obviously, we knew this was going to happen. That's why we came up with the 175 for the current year. We did make it 175, didn't we? 170?
Yes, 175.
175. So maybe next year we'll still need to put a few dollars in it, but it won't be quite as bad.
So is there a way to get this report so we can see the full story of what's going on? You know, how much have we spent year-to-date, what the budget was?
With legal?
No, with all
like
of this.
all of them. I just feel like we're being asked to transfer $460,000.
But these are interdepartmental transfers, so
So
they're
all of
not,
these are the
it's not
same
new money coming in to pay
No,
for
I know,
the
but like,
site.
it'd be nice to
Technically-
see what's off in the budget.
Yeah, but technically, this is the
technically what's
select board okey-dokey.
So everything here.
We're codifying it. This is just all we're dealing with. This is all that we have purview over. If you look at the town warrant, another reason why the FinCom should not be exclusive to the FinCom, if you read the town warrant, all of this up here, they don't even have to tell us about this.
Okay. It just would be
They don't have
nice
to
to know.
tell the select,
But I think it's important to have the finance committee also.
don't disagree with
weigh
that.
in, yeah.
but
But it'd be nice to know, you know, this is
I'd
what
like
we
to see a
originally
report.
budgeted,
Yeah, yeah,
and this is what we spent.
Yeah, you can do that.
assuming you pull this off, can you show us the befores and after? So we kind of get a handle on the who's, what's, and whys?
Does our software do that? Do we have the original budget set, so it's static, and then put like a reforecasted column for a new budget?
Well, has the original budget, and I can give you a detail of what was paid out of that budget with what's left over in it.
Okay. Because I'm assuming there's got to be a lot more of accounts that maybe we're under.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So these are just pulled out for the numbers.
Yeah, I didn't ask for etched detail because, again, this is really, this is a courtesy.
Not
Because
that I
there is
want, like,
there is nothing in
detail.
in the set for us to deal with this. I wanted to do that years ago, and I actually wanted to make it a bylaw. I want to make it part of the FinCom bylaw, that no money would be transferred between accounts without FinCom's knowledge. First, I said approval, and that,
Yeah.
everybody lost their mind. And then I said, well, at least, give us the courtesy of telling us what you're doing. And that went down in flames also. So this is strictly, the select board can say okay to this, and I'm not even sure they have to approve it. It depends on the interpretation of the budget. We approve a general government budget. That's what town meeting approves. They approve $20 million. So it's a bottom line budget. So the interpretation of the current administration is, you've approved the bottom line. We can move money around wherever we need to move it around to, because the town meeting approved the bottom line. I disagree with that. I think the town meeting approves individual departmental budgets, while we maybe don't have to worry about what line item the paper clips are in, but I don't think you can buy paper clips out of the salary line. I think that it's the salary line for a reason.
I just think where it's almost $500,000 that we're moving around, it would be nice to see.
Yeah, I
where it
agree.
was.
And it's no fault of the current accounting at all. This is just the way it is, but I would like to see a little more detail.
And then the 9,500 for SoftWrite, I thought we were getting rid of SoftWrite?
That was last year's bill. So I didn't have the contract, but when I got the bill, it was increased by $6,000, and apparently over the course of the contract, they're allowed to increase it a certain percent every year. So when I budgeted for it, being my first year here, and I didn't have the contract, I assumed it was a level 3-year contract. And same thing with Powers and Sullivan. Theirs went up this past year that I wasn't aware of either.
Okay.
And where'd we get the assessing salaries, just quickly, with the 5,500? We hire somebody new or somebody got a raise?
I actually did the budget for the assessors last year because we didn't have
Or is
anybody
this
in
the
there.
1% COLA?
So this is just the 1%, but the clerical got a 2% on top of a 2%, so it wasn't accounted for.
And I just, one other question back to the SoftWrite contract. It says and staff training.
Yeah, there was a couple of overages in training, but to do DAGE trips to a DOR update or things like that, it wasn't anything major. But I just wanted to include it in there, so if you actually look line item by line item, there are a couple staff line items, training line items that are over.
Do we know what the 30,000 was kicked out of the CARES Act, what we tried to buy, and they said no?
Most of it was unemployment, because, and again, I wasn't here, but I see what they gave back was what they said they wouldn't pay for. So whoever was paying the unemployment bill during the 2020, 2021, they just submitted the whole bill. and expected it to be reimbursed. Well, I don't know who pays the unemployment, but in another community, we would literally, this person was out because of COVID, and we had to do coverage because of COVID. So they covered those unemployment costs, but just sending them a whole unemployment bill without being specific as to what was COVID-related, they didn't cover it.
So did we let people go? I thought we just furloughed. Was someone let go?
No, they
Like-
collected unemployment. We didn't, nobody got
We
fired.
didn't.
Nobody
like,
got
the
fired. It was just furloughs.
Okay.
Furloughs. Okay. So we ended up 30,000 short because of that.
I mean, from what I understand, the town hall was only closed maybe a week or two, so that wouldn't justify $30,000 of unemployment costs, so they wouldn't cover it.
The only thing on here that disturbs me is the police salary line, because we're under the impression that it should be less. So, but we still haven't closed the year out yet, so. As soon as you finally get the final numbers on that, will you send them to me, and I'll send them to the committee, so we have those. So I guess what they're looking for tonight is us to give a okay to the estimate of needs and the possible sources. And then I assume you're going to take that to the select board and
Yes.
tell them you met with FinCom and FinCom signed off on it. If you'd be so kind as to just simply make a caveat in there that we did have questions about the police salaries.
And I just have one other question.
Please.
Right, so the townwide maintenance contracts. So we over budgeted half of it? Was there a contract we didn't do, or was that line just padded?
It was budgeted in the account, the department, and it was also part of those bottom line budgets that you had in, below the capital plan with the debt, and that was in there, IT, something was in there.
But
So it was
okay.
voted on, so I had to put it somewhere, so I kind of, it was just sitting there. I knew we weren't going to use that $80,000.
Okay. Do we have that for FY '24?
It's only in there once.
Okay.
It's a pleasure.
Do you have a question first?
Please.
I have a related question, which may impact future budgets. Dealing with Old Colony, do we know the results of the other towns' meetings, votes on their feasibility study?
I don't think they've all had their town meetings.
No, they all did, yeah.
They did, and they all
Yeah.
voted yes.
Yeah,
Oh, they did?
yeah.
They all voted
They
yes?
had to have town meeting before July.
Right, oh, yeah.
Yeah, we just had a meeting last week, and they were approved. There was one town that
Beth
was
is on that
iffy, but, yeah, they all went through.
Oh, okay, good, because I never heard, and I tried looking it up, and, you know.
Now, I
They
do
do have a
know,
website.
I
if
do
you
know
go to
that
their page.
Aaron went to the Middleborough Select Board last week, no, 2 weeks ago, because last week was the holiday. And they seem to be entering into an MOU for a Middleborough water line to go and cover any potential new addition.
Oh, okay.
And they're gonna use the existing wells for irrigation only. So that'll allow Old Colony to have secured their water source, because they're gonna have to sprinkle the new building. And if they leave the old building alone, they don't have to sprinkle the old building.
Okay.
So, but Aaron was pretty clear, I watched that meeting, and Aaron was pretty clear that they were going to use the wells for irrigation only. And so that Middleborough water wouldn't be used on the ball fields and so on.
Okay, that's good. I think it's very important that
That move forward.
Old Colony move forward. Yes.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%.
Good, thank you.
And since we're on water talk, how did we do with the North Carver Water District?
So as you may know, we went back to North Carver Water this past month and switched off of Middleborough Water for North Carver Water District. So it was about a year that we were on Middleborough Water while we were getting the plant back up running. They, meaning North Carver Water District Commissioners. when it came down to because there was no metering coming in, the incoming water, we were using our numbers from the end users, which is our users in town. But the Middleborough had a different number that they were using. And so we had to negotiate a settlement of what we actually owe and what we're going to pay them. And it was kind of all over the place at first, and met Mike Palomari, the chair, and I met with the select board chair and their water commissioners and the town administrator last week. And we were able to come up with a reasonable amount that we're happy with and they're happy with. It was $156,000. Now, we took in about $147,000 for the town, so it's pretty close to what the numbers, what we expected numbers to be. And I give credit to the group in Middleborough for being so amiable to the town of Carver to get to that number, because the numbers were much higher to begin with, and working through that. And they were great to work with. So now we're looking at the next phase of that is how do we pay them? Because the money is kind of locked in their budget, not in their budget, the operating budget, but it's not a situation where the money comes in, we can use that money. So we gotta either get it by town meeting transfer, or what I'm gonna do is propose an ARPA transfer for the money to pay that. And then we'll work out a situation on how North Carver either pays back the town's ARPA, or that it's just paid out by the ARPA. So it's still not finished, but we've gotten very close to finishing that process.
So I'm going to tell the flip side of that coin. They're sitting on $740,000 in
I
their
don't think
account.
it's that much, is it?
Yeah.
I thought it was 5 something. Okay.
There's 7 and change in that account. Even if there's 5 and change in that
Yeah.
account. I don't understand how they can just keep on increasing their account and then they don't have to pay anything out of it without town meeting approving it. I don't get that.
It's not a revolving account like that.
Well, then we need to change something.
Yeah, I
Whether
know,
it's
I know.
dissolve the North Carver Water District and do an MOU with Middleborough, or it's get them on a revolving account so we can stop this bleeding of the town to this gigantic hole in the ground that we keep pouring money into. And that's the North Carver Water District. We keep pouring money into it, and we get nothing back out of it. Nothing.
So Bob, do the residents all pay like a water meter charge that
Yes.
we're tied to it?
Yeah, that's where that money comes from, that 147,000.
So we take
I mean,
it
there's
in,
only, there's
but
only,
they don't have to pay it out.
Yeah.
there's only 113 users on the system. It's not a big system. That's the
So they're
problem.
paying over $1,000 each?
Paying a lot of money for their water. Probably the highest in the general area of any water district.
Could save money by going to Middleborough. With Middleborough charging 1.5 times their normal rate,
Yeah.
which is
I
what
think
they
Because they're
do
a
with
big-
every other
they're a big
surrounding
water
city or
source.
I
town.
think when I lived in Braintree, I paid like $150 of water.
Middleborough used to supply water up there.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And that may be an option, down the road here.
I think it's a hell of a
Well,
good
are
option.
there any commercial buildings on it? So maybe
Yes.
that's why it's higher, maybe the residents
There
are.
there are, there's
There's no
any
tier.
of the, like the Dunkin' Donuts and the
Yeah.
Honeydew and all those
Well, the car wash.
down there, the car wash, and
Yeah.
Yep.
I thought at one time that we were gonna do a metering pit.
Well, yeah, so that's the second
That's the
part of
next thing
this.
is a meter pit.
Is Middleborough's putting together a bid to have a pit, it's called, with a meter, so that that'll be available all the time. You can just turn on the spigot and in comes the water, but it'll be calculated as how much water is coming into the town. That's in the process.
Because the end users,
There's no sewer.
well, no, but the end users don't pay for the flushing of any hydrants and so forth and so on. So if you have leaks in the system, or you have a hydrant, because there are hydrants in North Carver, you start flushing these lines out.
Yeah.
And you can't take how much water you sold on the meters and charge it because you don't know how much water you lost coming in, that didn't get to the meter, that was gone first. So I just, this North Carver Water District has been such a problem for so many years. It's a failed system. It doesn't work. So it's time to fix it.
So I just want to say that this commission of North Carver Water Commission that they have now is doing a great job.
Yeah,
Trying to
yeah.
keep this thing afloat and fix things. Again, where that ends up at the end may end up going to something like Middleborough or may add to the plant, who knows? That's going to be the town's decision
help
on what happens, so.
Add to the
So,
plan for
but they're,
113 residents.
they feel your pain, Alan. Everybody does, so.
Well, unless we're gonna start running water lines down Main Street and start doing, doing a major expansion if somebody happens to have, 20, 30 million they don't need. I don't see the feasibility
Yeah,
in continuing.
And I'm not throwing that
putting
out
money
there
into
that that's an
infrastructure For
option.
113 houses. I'm sorry, I just don't. When we can tap into it on Plymouth Street and just have no overhead, no infrastructure cost,
Just a meter.
just the meter. Middleborough will bill us and we'll bill the customers and turn that into a revolving account so that the town can pay the water bill and the customers can pay the town and everybody's happy. Seems like a no-brainer to me. But what do I know? I'm just the dump truck driver. So, that being said, that's the end of my rant.
No, it's not.
You're just getting started.
Yeah, no, I gotta behave. All right, so we voted on, we didn't do anything with this
No,
yet.
we haven't
So
voted.
Yeah.
I need a motion on this estimate of needs and possible sources, a motion or none, or whatever the pleasure of the committee is.
I'll make a motion to recommend the possible budget transfers for estimates of need, $334,845, as well as to use the Finance Committee Reserve Fund for
No,
$120.
we're not using that.
Oh, no?
This is separate, so just the
Okay.
384,845 out of sources to the 334,845 out of estimate of needs.
Okay.
That's just the one thing, then we'll deal with the reserve fund in a minute. So that's a separate motion, so.
Okay. Did Beth make the motion?
So is that enough for
that
the
good?
motion?
Yeah, as long as you bring up the two numbers, yeah, as,
did.
let's just do that again.
Okay.
Okay.
As
So-
submitted, I guess.
So I'll make a motion to recommend the budget transfers from the estimate of need for $334,845 from the possible sources listed for $334,845.
Second?
Okay, second.
I have a motion and a second to recommend the estimate of needs and the possible sources being both the same number, 334,845, as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0.
Thank you.
Now you can tell the select board that FinCom was on board. Now, on the reserve fund, as crazy as it's going to sound, but we're really going to need 4 separate motions. One for accounting, one for assessing salaries, one for legal personnel matter, and one for disallowed COVID-19 CARES costs. And then, as each one of those is voted on with the permission of the committee, Sue, you need to get me 4 transfer requests that you'll need to sign off on, Bob will need to sign off on, and then I'll sign off on them with the codification of the board. All right? Okay. So, on the first motion for accounting,
And I'll make a motion to use the Finance Committee Reserve Fund for the accounting department for $9,500, which includes the pricing of their audit, their software contracts, and software contracts and staff training.
Second.
motion made and seconded to approve the $9,500, approve the transfer of $9,500 from the reserve account to the accounting line of, for the pricing of the audit and software contracts. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? First one down. Second one.
I'll make a motion to transfer from the Finance Committee Reserve Fund $5,500 for assessing salaries.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to transfer $5,500 to the assessing salary lines from the reserve fund. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. On the third line.
I'll make a motion to transfer from the Finance Committee Reserve Fund $80,000 for legal personnel matter.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to transfer $80,000 out of the $125,000 reserve account for a legal personal matter. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. I want to make a note, the legal personnel matter is an employee matter. That's the reason it's worded that way, because you can't really, you obviously can't say what it's really about. And I don't even know who it's for, I just know that that's how it was explained
It's
to me.
ongoing,
Sorry?
ongoing still.
No, it's
No, it's
concluded.
settled. And then, last but not least,
I'll make a motion to transfer from the Finance Committee Reserve Fund $30,000 for the disallowed COVID-19 CARES cost.
Second.
motion made and seconded to transfer $30,000 from the reserve fund to the disallowed COVID-19 CARES costs. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Carried. So those are all set. If you would get me the 4 transfer requests, you can email them to me. I'll sign off on them and just bounce them back to you. That's all. And is that okay with the rest of the committee?
Yep.
Yes.
I think that was all we had. That was it. Are you, what's your confidence level that this is the end result? Are we going to have any other surprises, do you think? Or, we've only got till the 15th to certify this, so I'm assuming,
17th, they gave us till the 17th because the 15th falls on a Saturday.
oh, that's right, that's right, that's right.
But no, from my estimates, especially for those particularly large ones, I kind of boosted it a little bit just in case an extra invoice came in that we weren't aware of.
Okay. But you're comfortable with these numbers, and you think that if they're boosted a little tiny bit, that they'll actually maybe be a little bit less?
Right.
Would you let us know as soon as that is, whatever the final numbers are, would you let us know as soon as you know? And as of now, well, it doesn't matter, the reserve account is 0, which is, I'm really glad that we didn't touch it all year long for any reason.
It's
That was-
amazing, yeah.
That was really good. We didn't have that same luxury last year because there was some bargains that came up. And this year, as of now, the committee has $175,000 in the reserve account. So with any luck at all, we won't need that money next year in that full amount either, which should be
Happy
good.
fiscal new year.
Yeah, that's right, the new year. So, anyone else for the finance director or for the town administrator?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Wait.
Is this $5,000 grant out of FY '24 money?
Yes, this is the
Can
new.
you just note it, because everything here is dated for June?
Yes, because it's always this is always the previous fiscal year for the next fiscal year.
Right, and her invoice also says June though as well, so it's not a July invoice, it's a June invoice
Right,
date?
they never have been. They've always been that, and they get held off.
Write FY '24 on
Sure,
there so that
I'll be
I
happy to do that.
don't have to answer to anybody. Well, no,
Because we already gave them money for FY '20.
right. And just with the staff training that's in there is actually for the assistant. She's a very good assistant, but she didn't have a lot of municipal background. So she has been going to the education programs out in Amherst and a few other things, procurement classes, just to get her more into the municipal idea of accounting rather than just accounting.
Okay. Anything else?
Talk about our working on our budget schedule? Okay.
You want to talk about the calendar?
No, because it's not finalized yet, so rather than throw it out there,
You're still
then
working on
somebody
the
will
calendar.
say,
So
I
you,
will,
why don't you get with Bob and
okay,
all I know is we're not doing what we did last year. That's absolute.
Exactly.
I think you had a great idea. I think that, I don't know how internally it will work, but I think, geez, October 15th is a good time for budgets from the departments, and I think we should be able to start looking at stuff the very beginning of December. And then we got January, you know, that's the easy meeting is in December. It's just us together talking about this is what's presented. And then January, you start in with the department heads and we start looking at it. We have January, we have February, nobody's got a gun to their head. We don't have to worry about the vacation in February like we did last year. And then the selectmen can do whatever they want with their joint meeting, we can have popcorn.
John Cotter had mentioned that there already was a budget calendar. Is there one? Or a guide, maybe a guideline of a calendar?
There's an old
There's
one.
an old guideline from prior years,
Okay,
but it's very wide in dates, so start the budget process on October 4th and finish it up on December 20th. That's kind of
It's
just.
too late,
Too much.
you know.
okay.
Yeah.
So we have worked on some things that we need to
That's fine.
Yeah,
shore up.
But I think October makes sense because, and it's got to be toward the end of October when you ask for the department budgets, because now you have a whole quarter behind you. You have July, August, September. So as soon as you get the finals for September, now you can look at it and say, okay, you got a quarter behind you, you can start to try to speculate on a budget for FY '25. But you can't do anything unless you have some, you know, some ironclad numbers. I mean, payroll's the vast majority of it, I understand.
Yeah, other than, you know, it's going to be a level service budget. So it's not much play there for them to put together.
It's 2.5%.
No, I know it. So that's,
Then we don't know whether utility's gonna go crazy. I mean, look at how we panicked and had, I don't know, $400,000 extra in for gasoline.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it turned out we didn't need it,
Yeah.
you know?
what about revenue? When do they have that on the
That's the
calendar?
problem, yeah.
So I've already got the revenue projection out there. I've worked with history and going forward. But we don't have actual year-end receipts for FY '23 until maybe mid-August, end of August. I'm level funding the cherry sheets, so you're looking at just a 2.5% in property tax.
Yeah, but when did they have it on the old calendar? What month did they used to start it? Is it like November?
September 20th to November 1st.
Why? Yeah, that sounds right. I need to see it in November.
I just don't wanna wait till the end of January.
No.
I'm not doing it.
I was just curious of when they used to have it, because I feel like we would see it in November,
Yeah,
December.
yeah, I think we did.
Yeah.
We started like November and we got
did.
preliminary numbers. And then we went into December and we had, you know, more information. Then we started meeting with a few departments and then January is the same way. We're pretty much done by the end of January, beginning of February. And then the select board could do their thing and everybody had plenty of time and nobody was having stress. You know, that's what I want this year is no stress. I think you want no stress more than I want no stress.
Never happened.
Oh, yes, it will. So, anybody else? Anything else? You guys good? Okay. So the next item we have is I was informed by Shelby that Beth's term expired as the representative to the Finance Committee on Capital Outlay, and we need to reaffirm. So technically, you're not on capital outlay right this moment. Don't get comfortable. But you still are the chairman of the Capital Outlay Committee. So I would take a nomination for the representative of the Finance Committee to the Capital Outlay, please.
Recommend Bill Thugger for the representative.
I would need a second.
Second.
Motion, and the reason I can do this, by the way, is the bylaw forbids the chairman from being on the Capital Outlay Committee, so I don't have to let them run this portion of the meeting. A motion made and seconded. You accept?
Well, before I accept, I don't mind doing it, but did anyone else want the chance?
Like I said, do you accept?
I accept, I do accept. But I just didn't want to take it from anyone else who would
But
like.
you accept?
Yes, I accept.
Any further discussion? Nobody try to talk her out of it, please? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And one abstention?
Yep.
401.
Jeez.
You didn't think you were getting on.
Well, I
You
didn't know
didn't
if
think.
anybody else.
Yeah, anybody. You're
was
so sweet.
interested.
Okay, minutes. You have in front of you. And I want to make a mention, I don't think I said this before, but Mr. Cullum has stepped off the Finance Committee due to business increases at work and so forth, and it's obvious that Ron Clark has resigned from the committee. Anybody that watches social media knows exactly why, but they are living in a rented condo in Plymouth, looking for a new home in Carver. They never expected to not be able to find one when they sold their house, and were shocked that, A, there's very little inventory, and B, what there was inadequate, so they're still looking. They're hoping to be back in Carver within, 3 months or so, and if they get back and reestablish residence, I'm sure we'll have his smiling face right back on the committee. So, that being said, everybody knows the reason why Ron left, and it's a big hole. The Clarks have done a lot for this town over the years. I believe that Sharon is the longest-serving member of the Zoning Board of Appeals, over 30 years. So and she was obviously the chairman of the RDA also. So it's a big deal. This is the kind of volunteerism that seems to be lacking today. So the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from June 5th, 2023 as written.
Second?
Motion made and seconded to approve the minutes from June 5th, 2023 as written. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Passes unanimously. Ashley, excellent job on the minutes. No, really, they really come out.
Very good, very
The
comprehensive.
grant application, no one can read this and not understand what we did. So this is the kind of minutes that are perfect. So I'm very appreciative of how that goes together. I have nothing with 48, well, actually, I do have something with 48 hours in advance. I sent it all to you. I got it, and I sent the cover letter also on the United Parish. They put in a grant application for FY '24 for, I guess they have an oil tank that's leaking in their basement. They have a dirt floor. And the last conversation, when they came to us last year asking for funds, and the year before, when I went to council, again, last year too, Greg reiterated the fact that as long as we're not buying stained glass windows and pews and an altar, that there's no problem with the grant money. Now, they have outside uses that the Boy Scouts, AA, NA, yoga, the hall benefits the town, and the people in the town use the hall. So obviously, without having the oil tank replaced, they have no heat. And because it's on a dirt floor, they have to have the oil tank replaced, but they have to have a pad poured. So that is right around, well, they're asking for 5,000. The estimate is just about 5,000. But they sent out a plea for fundraising. And so far, last time I talked, which was the other day, they've raised about $1,500 so far. So I said, put in the $5,000 grant. When we have it up in the next agenda, which is going to probably be the end of this month, because I'd like to move forward, they're going to come and they'll tell us, because their cutoff date's the 15th on the donations.
Okay.
So we can have another meeting anytime after that. And they'll tell us how much they've raised, and then they'll reduce the grant by that amount. They're not trying to make money off of this. So people that have done, so if they raise $2,500, they only need $2,500. If they raise $2,000, they need $3,000. So I said, put the grant application in for $5,000. I have it. I sent you all a copy of it. And the next meeting, we'll take it up and deal with it. Just an FYI. So our next meeting, I'd like to try to schedule something the end of this month. Is anybody disappearing into the sunset?
Depends.
You win the lottery.
No, it depends on when you want to do this.
Well, the only thing we'd have on the agenda, and we could actually do it at the beginning of August, I don't see why not. I know they want to get the job done, but they can certainly contract to have it done because, I don't think that would be an issue, but it's up to the board. Today's the 10th, so the only other date would be the 31st of this month, or we could kick it to August 7th.
I can do either one.
Want to do the 31st?
Yep,
Then we can take the month of August off.
okay.
Actually, you might have some more information on the finalized budgets and what you had to give into the state, so can we do the 31st? Is that okay? All right. So we'll do the next FinCom on the 31st at 6:30. Ashley, that okay with you? Okay, perfect. And we can take August off. Committee member comments, anything else?
No comments.
Walter, how's everybody doing?
We're doing.
Big hole, huh? He's always in our thoughts, you know that. Well, then I will take a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you, good night.